I've been playing a ton of RPGs, both old and new this year, so I wanted to look back on some retro RPGs that I love to remind me why I love this genre in the first place. Keep in mind this isn't a top 10 list. I've played a bit more than what's on here, but I haven't played everything there is. Let me know what your favorite retro RPGs are, but with that said, let's get on with the list. No retro RPG list would be complete without a Final Fantasy on it. You can't really deny the impact 7 had on the JRPG market, but gaming pretty much as a whole at the time. Between its cinematic delivery of its cutscenes, to its flashy battle system and its awesome environments like Midgar, you can't really go wrong with this RPG. This was one of the first RPGs I watched my brothers play when I was really young, along with Diablo 2, and it really did blow my mind back then. And I still have really fond memories of it from way back then. If you enjoy JRPGs, you owe a lot to Final Fantasy VII in terms of broadening the genre to a wider audience. I mean, there's a good chance I wouldn't have played any myself without it, so for that, I have to pay my respect. Earthbound is probably my favorite RPG from the 90s. It's just so strange and weird, but it's also really grounded at the same time. It's just by and large a pretty standard, grindy JRPG, but the music is so out there. The battle background sequences are fun to look at, and I mean the whole vibe of the game is just off the charts. There isn't really a single thing I could pick out of Earthbound that feels like it identifies it. It's just a nice collection of lots of different attributes that make it really memorable. Between the music, battle system where the party's health ticks down, unique psi abilities, iconic characters and locations, and a surprisingly challenging amount of boss battles, it's just a really awesome RPG. It's pretty much the RPG that defined that quirky indie RPG wave that's pretty common nowadays, but I think it's my favorite out of all these. Earthbound is definitely one of the most charming and strange games I've ever played, and for that I had to throw it on the list. Dragon Quest V is just simply a masterpiece. The story is gripping from the get-go, and it really feels like they started connecting all the dots with this entry. Dragon Quest IV seems to be going for this more heavy form of storytelling, but V really ironed it all out. It's awesome to play just to see the hero grow from a young boy into a man, his hardships and trials along the way, and there are many surprising plot devices and twists throughout. It's got one of the most memorable stories in an RPG for me. It's simple but effective, and the way it's presented through the JRPG medium is just so awesome. You can't really go wrong with any of the old Dragon Quests, but this one definitely carries the most weight with its impactful narrative, and I had to throw it on the list for that. Chrono Trigger comes as no surprise for this list. It actually took me a couple tries to learn to love Chrono Trigger, but once it clicked, I actually couldn't put this game down. There's something so captivating about Chrono Trigger that you can't really find elsewhere. It's really flashy, but also not pretentious in any form. It feels and breathes that 90s vibe without being too of the times. It really is just a timeless game. Typically when you play something from an older era, you can kind of see some of the flaws, some aspects that feel a bit dated, but there really isn't much going on in Chrono Trigger that detracts from its overall experience. The battle system is fast and fluid, but it still feels like every action carries significance, so the pacing doesn't feel too quick. The animations of attacks along with their sound effects are so impeccably satisfying. Chrono's critical slash hit comes to mind, it's just so awesome. These are little things that make an RPG that much more memorable, and this was kind of at Square's peak with sound design, especially with Final Fantasy VII just around the corner. All in all, Chrono Trigger just packs a punch, and it's hard to get off the train until it's done. It's on everyone's list for a reason, and it's just that awesome. Final Fantasy Tactics is probably the best tactical RPG I've ever played. It's debatable if it's my favorite or not, but from a gameplay and story standpoint, it just had no business being as good as it ended up being. Yasunori Matsuno is kind of a genius, and his Shakespearean influence really carries through his writing style in these games. I love the visual style of this game. The remake looks great too. I mean, the original was pretty much timeless as it was. Arguably, this game didn't even need a fresh coat of paint, but just simply a port to modern consoles and PC. It's really commendable what Square accomplished here. Gameplay is so good, you could probably play this game exclusively for the rest of your life. If I was stuck on a deserted island, this might be the game I would pick. There's just so much variety in Final Fantasy Tactics. Secret of Mana is probably the most atmospheric SNES RPG I've ever played. I really love the art direction of the Mana series. It really feels completely holistic, if that makes any sense. Like, it feels as if the world is lived in. There's just some really beautiful environments that have stood the test of time. The premise and combat are pretty simple, but it's cool that it's an RPG that can be played co-op. The soundtrack is pretty awesome as well. It really adds to the atmosphere between its calmer songs to its more upbeat themes. The Mana series probably has my favorite art direction of any game I've played. It's just so unique and strange, but it also feels like it could exist out there somewhere. Secret of Mana does a lot of great things and tells a bit more of a subdued story. Majority of the time it's just a very vibey game, and I love that aspect of it. I'm actually playing through Breath of Fire 4 right now, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. I only have experience with the first entry, so this game has a bit of a graphical jump for sure. The art style of this game is pretty incredible. Comparing it to Final Fantasy VII from previous mention, I would have to say it has aged a bit better. I still love the way Final Fantasy VII looks, by the way, but it's hard to argue with Breath of Fire's style. I mean, the character animations and sprites are so lifelike even by today's standards. It's just so cool to watch things just happen in this game. Not to mention the environments and the cool character portraits for NPCs. It's just all around a pleasure to play. The gameplay is honestly pretty simple, but the dragon transformations are pretty rad. The soundtrack isn't too shabby either. This is all around a pretty solid RPG. I'm looking forward to finishing this one up. Star Ocean: The Second Story is one of my favorite action RPGs. Admittedly, I've only played the remake of this, but I've heard that it's just about the quintessential way to experience it by this point. I would still like to experience the original, but probably not anytime soon because of those prices. Regardless, I love this grand sci-fi epic story going on, and the two different campaign choices of Claude and Reyna. It's pretty cool how you can recruit different party members depending on decisions, and it adds a bit of replay value. The battle system is pretty fun as well. I love my turn-based RPGs, but some action RPGs that do it effectively are always a nice change of pace. I enjoy how beautiful this game is, while how retro it feels with its combat and movement. It's a nice modernization of a classic RPG. I love the stat point allocation system in this as well. It's probably the coolest aspect of the game, really. I wish more JRPGs did this type of thing, because you mostly see this much stat tinkering going on in Western RPGs. I didn't grow up with a Mario RPG. I definitely played this a lot later on in life, so I don't have that much nostalgia tied to it, but it has a lot of undeniable charm. Much like Breath of Fire 4, Mario RPG just has so much character with the sprites and their animations. Square kind of knocked it out of the park with this crossover. I mean, even the platforming in this game is pretty dang good. An RPG with good platforming, that's so rare to see even by today's standards. I mean, there's RPGs of recent times that I can think of with platformer sections that made me kind of annoyed, but in Mario RPG it never feels tedious. It also makes a lot of sense given it's Mario, so maybe I'm just conditioned to not be that mad about it. The battle system is pretty cool too, but I really have to hand it to Yoko Shimomura for the soundtrack. This is by far the best Mario soundtrack out there, or at least for the RPGs. I mean, I love my Paper Marios, but I don't think it's close in this regard. There's some serious bangers throughout the soundtrack. It's also great that it has a shorter runtime. You can beat Mario RPG in probably less than 20 hours without trying too hard. It's too bad we'll probably never see a Square and Nintendo crossover ever again, because honestly, it works so well here. Eastbook 1 and 2 are probably the oldest RPGs I've played realistically, and I think it's aged really well. The combat is super simple, you just bump into dudes and they take damage. It's one of the first action RPGs as far as I'm aware, so it holds a lot of influence in that regard. Falcom really was at the forefront of the early RPG days, and it's pretty cool to see the early beginnings of a company of such long standing. I think the obvious best part of this game though is the killer soundtrack from Yuzo Koshiro. I mean, everyone knows he's a musical wizard, but man, I think this game wouldn't have rocked so hard without this guy on the turntables. This RPG feels incredible for me to play, a bit like researching a lost relic since it came out before my time. It's really aged like fine wine, honestly. I kind of prefer these original versions to the Chronicles versions, but they both have their merits. Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow were pretty much the first JRPGs I ever played. I would have included Paper Mario on here as well, but it released in 2000, so it didn't make the list. These games are so ingrained into my brain. I played the crap out of these as a kid, and even today I could probably fire up Yellow and have a good time. The original 151 Pokemon are iconic. It was always fun to build your team between catching a Pikachu early on, going for Abra and feeding an experience, finally getting Eevee and evolving it. There are other Pokemon games I enjoy probably more, but the first gen is by far the most replayable for me. It just hits all the right notes and it's pretty much timeless, and I owe it a lot for introducing me to my favorite genre of video games. And those are my favorite retro RPGs from the 90s. Keep in mind I haven't played everything out there, so my list could change over the years. There are plenty in my backlog that I like to get to. Let me know what your favorite retro RPGs are down below. If you could slap that sub button and all that, I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.